Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Another exciting show and another exciting guest. This guest has been on before, and her story was truly one that was impactful. Definitely showed that beast state of mind, but more importantly, it also showed a woman's forgiveness on both sides of the scale. Let me tell you where I'm going with this and how we came back to part two to this. Imagine being a product of rape. Two young individuals, male and female, go to a party. Something happened. One holler rape, one says it didn't happen. But through this quest, you go on your own journey to find out exactly what happened. And on top of that, you have to decipher what's true. The person that said that they done it or the person that said that that's not the way that it happened. Without further ado, she's going to share a little bit. We're going to recap a little bit, but then we're going to go into something deeper here. Let me tell you the part two of this. You ever seen these movies where like bar rescue and people go into these restaurants and they go to clean them up? I'm going to tell you where I'm going with this because this just happened to a restaurant that was here. I won't mention the name of it because I don't want to throw people up under the bus, but those in Indianapolis know what I'm talking about, which is so funny. I was on 42nd and Post Road getting ready to go to this place that has just say chicken and wings. I didn't go that day because I was surprised that they had one in this neighborhood that I was in. I said, I'm going to go in there. I don't know how the universe works, but this is so crazy. I go to my social media page. Social media is so cool, and you need to know how to use it. I'm pretty sure she's going to tell us this in her new profession with dealing with restaurants. But let me close this out so it makes sense. Somebody took their cell phone out and went behind the scenes because this restaurant has a tendency to let you see them making food. And you see the boxes of the chicken and stuff that's out, they're frozen or whatever. But this time there were rodents that were coming in and out of the food that they were cooking. Now, roll with me here for a minute. I'm about ready to go and eat at this place because I've been to their original, AKA original location, which once it all panned out, the original guy said that wasn't us. They quote unquote used our name. I think it's a bunch of crap. You knew they used your name because however they put it, they were coming for the same stuff that came from your original restaurant. But to say the least, this went viral. They were literally cooking the food that rodents were coming in and out of and serving it to people. And this was the most sickening part. You're serving it to people that don't have a lot of stability, meaning means of income. They have EDB cards or whatever, but they're still trying to feed their families. And you're going to serve them food, sticking your hand in this, knowing that this food has had rodents running all over it, and you're picking it up and you're putting it inside the grease, and you're serving it to people. Fortunately, it went viral enough that the Board of Health went down there and shut them down. They should have shut down every single one of them because my thing is like this when it comes to restaurants, bars, and so forth. If you did it at one, you're doing it at the others. That just happened to be an incident that somebody took upon themselves to go back there and look because they seen rodents going by there. And not just saying the low income, because I'm pretty sure even the high-end restaurants have the same issues. Cleanliness, food preparations, even the so-called what you call these little restaurants that come out of people's trucks now. And I asked myself, I said, well, how are they washing their hands? How are they keeping food fresh? And you're pulling up getting tacos? I mean, like, I'm more of a why don't I see garbage being taken out? Where is the garbage at? How are you washing your hands? How are you where is your bathroom at? I'm asking questions because you're messing with food. Does that make any sense, ladies and gentlemen? So, without further ado, we got a lady who's came back from the trauma of a product of rape. She's going to tell us a bit about that, but more importantly, what she's doing now. And she is doing this restaurant. What's the word I want to use? Restaurant evaluations, restaurant rescues. In other words, she's going to tell you what her job is to go into your restaurant and make your restaurant up to date, make it profitable, and tell you what you are and what you ain't doing right. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, Erika Lebo, to the show. Erika, what's up?
Thank you so much. That was a killer introduction. Wow.
Look, you
I
took
love
me
it.
down memory. You took me down memory lane with this restaurant thing. Now you know what's so funny, Erika? I have not been back in the restaurants, even though he said that's not none of his. I don't trust him anymore. I'm
Mm-mm.
petrified because if you've done it, there's 9 times out of 10 somebody else does it. I think people don't react until they get busted. Then they want to
Exactly.
be proactive. We you know what they said? We want to earn your trust. Well, even if they didn't utilize your name pro se, part of your
Mhm.
name was granted, and they used your main store as their leverage. So you had to know something. You
Yeah.
had to know something. So you just lost a loyal customer with me. But enough of my ranting about that. Let's talk about you and why you came back for another episode to talk about that incident. Let's talk a little bit about who you are. Erika Lebo. Who
Mhm.
is Erika Lebo?
Ooh, I am. I would call myself a powerhouse now, which is something I never thought I would say. You know, as you mentioned, I am a product of rape, so it took me a really long time to find myself and figure out who I am. And it was only in my 30s that I was finally able to do that. And now I'm in my 40s, and I'm at the point where I don't care anymore. So, as a restaurant consultant, I go into restaurants and I tell them what they need to hear to fix their business.
That's very interesting. So this, how did you manage to get into that? Like, what made you get into that particular field, especially
Ooh.
after dealing with all the trauma that you came from? Why get into understanding the who, what, where, or why of restaurants?
So I did not plan on this at all. When I was in high school, I thought I was just going to be a minimum wage worker for the rest of my life. And I got a job at Hooters. That was my first restaurant job. And I realized, wow, this is kind of fun. I like the restaurant industry. So I went from there into fine dining. Went from there to more of a, I actually worked at Red Robin then as a bartender and trainer. And as a bartender there, a regional concept owner approached me and said, "Hey, like I can tell you have really good work ethic, and I'm interested in you working for me. Would you come on as a pre-opening coordinator for one of my new chains?" And I took a leap of faith and I said, "Sure, why not?" And from there, I was recruited to work for national food service distributors and sales, and slowly worked my way up to where I'm at now as a restaurant consultant.
You mentioned Hooters. I'm gonna tell you, when I used to go, when I used to go to Hooters, and I didn't go all the time. I actually dated a young lady that worked at Hooters, but I knew the regional manager, so I was like really cool when they came to Indianapolis. But I never ate the wings. I always ate. You guys have a great shrimp. I forgot what it's called,
Mm.
but it was. And it took people. I say, "Why do you go to Hooters to eat shrimp?" I was like, "Man, their shrimp is phenomenal." But to go along with what you're saying about restaurants, even though they were noted for their wings and the women, beautiful women, they found a customer that likes them because that's what restaurants is about and bars. It's about what the customer likes and what's going to keep that customer coming back. I came back for that one thing all the single time. You've been in this industry for a while. What are some of the things that you have seen repetitively happen with restaurants that keeps them from being good at what they need to do, which is being a restaurant?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I see is they have too big of a menu. When you have
Oh my
a
God.
3,
Say
4,
that
5
again. Wait
page
a minute.
menu,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Please say that again.
the biggest thing holding restaurants back is they just have too big of menus. They
Wow.
offer too
Explain,
much.
explain how that could be a handicap. I want to see if I want to see. Can I do your job? Let's see if we're thinking alike.
Uh-oh. Okay, so the average consumer spends 100 seconds looking over a menu. So a restaurant like the Cheesecake Factory, who has 20 pages, customers get overwhelmed. So
Yeah.
that's the first problem is it's overwhelming the customer. The second thing is their inventory is out of control. They have so much food sitting on the shelves, and that's just wasted money. Plus, as far as labor goes, you need more staff to prep and get ready for all of those additional items. So you're just draining money when you have too many products on your menu.
You're speaking my language. Cheesecake Factory is right here at Keystone at the Crossing. Uh, I order the same shit every time I go,
Hmm.
which is, and you know why? For that very reason, because I'm so, and I've even talked to managers there. I mean, like, why do you have so much on here?
So
That's
much.
to me wasted inventory, wasted product. Nobody's going to even get past the first thing. So, what do I order when I go there to make it easier for me so I don't have a pissed off evening? I order fettuccine alfredo, the grilled chicken, cross it up, throw some spinach on it, extra cheese, and give it to me. So I kind of create
Perfect.
my own pasta dish, what you might want to say. But you're right. But I'm pretty sure numerous people have told restaurants this.
Hmm.
Who's making the final decisions to keep all this on there? Because if it's my company, I should already know that this is way too much. I'm losing money. Let me descale and simplify the issue.
You would think that, but what happens is a lot of owners and chefs are afraid that they're going to lose customers if they shorten their menu because they have regulars who come in and they get that one random dish and no one else is ordering it. So they're holding on to all that inventory for someone who comes in once every other week, once a month, and it's pointless. But they're so afraid that if they get rid of items, they're going to lose customers, where in essence, they'll be able to attract more because it's going to be less overwhelming.
What's another reason
Another reason why they struggle.
why restaurants struggle? Yeah, I
Yeah.
clearly agree with the overabundance because I'm 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 kind of like I don't like using the word old school. I'm just a simple guy. When I go out to eat, I don't want to be overwhelmed with a menu because that's the first thing you get. No, the first thing I see is which I know you're going to talk about.
Mm,
How am I being greeted when I first
for
walk through that
sure.
door? That's the first thing I want to know. And then the second is who's serving me. I don't want you to kiss my ass. That's important to me that you don't kiss my ass, but you set the tone for my evening. Then the second thing is the third thing is that menu. But to keep moving
Hmm.
forward, what's another reason outside of the menu that you see restaurants having difficulties or moving forward?
Hmm. Well, you touch on a great topic right there is how you feel when you go into a restaurant. And I actually offer server training to help the servers understand that there's service and there's hospitality. Service anyone
Right.
can do. Hospitality is how you make someone feel, and that's how you're going to get them to come back. And that's really lacking, especially since COVID. We really see a decline in that hospitality feel when you go out to restaurants. So a lot of people will go into a restaurant, they don't feel wanted, they feel like an annoyance, so they're not going to go back. But going into what one of the biggest things is that I see is that restaurants aren't utilizing uh, their digital presence. I don't know about you, but when I want to go out to eat, the first thing I do is pull out my phone. I type in, the cuisine I'm looking for, the location. I'll go through their menus. I'll go through their social media, their reviews. That's how I decide where I'm going out to eat anymore. And restaurants just aren't grasping that yet, and that there is an investment involved. But ultimately, if you don't have a strong digital footprint, you're not going to get new customers in the door.
You brought up something that's very man. This is a great episode. I can already tell.
Thank you.
People always tell me. It's funny. I just posted this yesterday. My daughter, she gave me for Father's Day years ago a gift certificate to Bravos. A,
Mhm.
And I always go to Bravo's all the time. People say, Dre, we know where you at every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You at Bravo's. The reason that people fail to realize why I was at Bravo's is, first of all, I had a great relationship with the general manager. He made me feel important every time I went there. He knew my name every time I went there. I knew the hostess every time I went there. I can call on the phone and they recognize my voice and made sure I had a table. But what was most important was not that. I knew I had two special waiters that I always dealt with. And if they wasn't there, they made sure that they introduced me to the other
Mhm.
people that were there. It wasn't to kiss ass or brown nose. It's because, like you said, I like the food. I want to be treated. And more importantly, I want to bring my family and I want to bring my friends here. And it was also funny because this is something else you talked about, food prep.
Mhm.
They're known for their number one thing was their pasta. I hardly ever ate pasta there. You know what I went there for? I went there for their steak. I had steak, green beans, and fried potatoes because they was getting the same steak that Ruth Chris got. And a lot of people didn't know that. They was like, why do you go to get a steak? It's a spaghetti place. I'm like, have you tried their steak? And they go, wow. But I agree with you that there is a difference between hospitality and just
Mhm.
waiting on somebody. They made you feel like you were home.
Yep.
What's another reason? What's another reason?
Ooh, they are a lot of restaurants are afraid to increase prices on their menu. And we all know that the price of food and everything in general has gone up, but restaurants are afraid to increase their prices again because they're afraid that they're going to lose customers. But in doing that, they are just bleeding money instead and hurting themselves more than anything.
I'm clarify that a little bit more. They're afraid to increase their prices because I've seen a lot of restaurants have increased their prices so much. Hell, I can't even look. I can't even go to Burger King and get a decent meal for $10 now. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
15.
So the chains are raising their prices. They'll have a couple like the Wendy's biggie bag for $5. A couple of them will have some staples that aren't very expensive, but the chains are doing it right. They are increasing their prices. The problem is the mom and pops where they only have that one location. They do have their regulars, and if they see that the price went up a dollar, they're afraid that instead of going to their diner for breakfast, they're going to go down the street where the prices remain the same.
What's the major difference with the mom and pops and the, let's say, the TGI Fridays? They just tore
Mhm.
down Fridays like 2 months ago. It's like boom, gone. It's like out of here. Why do you think that even if the mom and pop stores stay where they're at financially, meaning not raising the prices, why is the big conglomerates like TGIF and these other places falling to the wayside?
That's a good question. I think that they're consolidating their costs and really assessing their footprint. A lot of the restaurants right now, the big ones that are closing down, are realizing that the economic society around them isn't quite worth keeping that location open. So they are closing the ones that aren't quite as profitable or as busy as some of their other locations.
So you're saying they rather keep
Close.
a few TGIFs in strategic cities and locations and just say we're going to cut the loss on everybody else and just shut them down.
I actually have a demographic report that I can run for my mom and pops to show them the exact median income, age, workforce within a 10-mile radius of their location. And that tool is huge for them because that's what the national chains are doing every single day. They're always analyzing the demographics around their area when they decide to close or when they decide to open up a new location. So having a tool like that's very, very helpful.
Why is it so hard for a mom and pop store to stay in business? I mean, you very seldom see them closing down, but you see them pop up like all over the place. Like I don't understand that.
Yeah, so a lot of people who open up an independent restaurant, they get into the business because they love cooking. They love going out to eat. They have a barbecue sauce that everyone says is to die for. but they don't understand everything that goes into running a restaurant. It's not just cooking the food and providing the atmosphere. You're not just a chef or a restaurant owner. You're also in charge of social media, and you're also HR, and your maintenance. There's so many other aspects that go into being a restaurant owner that I think a lot of people, when they start, they don't realize. And before you know it, they're in over their heads.
Is there an advantage and a disadvantage over a restaurant slash bar versus just a restaurant that don't have alcoholic beverages?
Yeah, definitely. If you can get your liquor license, I definitely recommend doing that. It's a huge attraction for just the basic clientele right now. If you don't have a liquor license, you could always offer BYOB, but you're not going to see the same foot traffic as a traditional bar would. The one thing that the people without liquor licenses can utilize, though, is mocktails. Mocktails are huge right now. They're trending, especially with the younger generation who's starting to lean away from alcohol a little bit. So if you're unable to have a liquor license, I do recommend featuring a mocktail menu and make it as fun as possible.
What's a mocktail menu? What's that?
Yeah, so it's really fun drinks like an alcohol beverage. It's pretty with like the colors and the foo like fruit on it and everything, but there's no alcohol in it. So it's still fun to drink. It still looks cool. You're still enjoying the experience, but you're not actually having any alcohol.
Let me ask a question. You mentioned bring your own bring your own something. What
BYOB,
is
bring
what
your own beer.
they have restaurants that do that? I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, a lot of Italian eateries. I'm in Pennsylvania, so around here we have a lot of Italian restaurants who let you bring in your own bottle of wine, and they'll pour it for you and do everything like that. So it might be state specific, I'm not sure, but here in Pennsylvania we do have restaurants that allow you to bring in your own alcohol if they can't supply
Really? And they don't get in trouble for doing
it.
that?
Mm-mm, nope. There's also we have a Mexican restaurant nearby who, because they can't serve liquor legally either, they'll say with the purchase of a dinner, we will give you a complimentary margarita. So I don't know how they quite get around that, but I guess if they're not paying for it and it's only one and there's some sort of a limitation, they've been getting away with that too.
What are some of the other reasons that restaurants tend to not do good? Let's talk about the big issue. Like they're still bugging me. Rodent infestation. I'm even seeing
Yeah.
that shit on like bar pickups and that guy that comes on TV and he goes, I can't believe you didn't see this. I'm like, yeah, I can't believe it either. But
Yeah.
how rampant is that in restaurants?
It's worse than you would imagine, and it is in the chains as well as the independents. What happens is owners sometimes go blind. You know how when you walk into your house, you don't notice your scent, but when someone comes in, they're like, your house smells good, and you don't know that. What happens is restaurant owners get the same way with their restaurants, and they stop seeing the dirt, they stop smelling the smells, and they just kind of get used to it. That's just how it is. So they're not seeing it in some cases. And in others, it's just easier to ignore it and act like it's not an issue when obviously it is. As a consumer, you can tell, this is a basic rule of thumb. If you go into the restaurant's bathroom, if that bathroom is dirty, the kitchen's going to be even worse.
What?
Mhm.
Okay.
Uh-oh, yeah, I can
So
see you thinking now.
I've been doing so I've been doing this all wrong. I need to start in the bathroom first.
You do. Mhm.
If
Mhm.
the
Because they wanna
bathroom
keep
is
the front of house, they wanna keep the dining room nice and clean and tidy because that's the main thing that we look at. People do use the
yeah,
restroom, but it's kind of a second thought. So, yeah, if you go
yeah.
in the bathroom and it's dirty, think twice.
Share some more information on what you do. What else do you do that people may not know that you do when you go into restaurants?
Hmm. So I do secret shoppers as well, where I assess everything from outside. You want to look at, is your parking lot clean? Do you have nice landscaping? Is paint peeling off? Things like that can subconsciously someone will decide if they want to go to your restaurant or not. Because if your outside doesn't look good, the food might not taste good either. So you want to like it's a whole aspect. Then once I go inside, check the lobby. Is it clean? Is there a hostess? Are they greeting me? Do they have uniforms? Are they taking care of themselves? Cleanliness is huge. And maintenance is huge. And if someone's not on top of that in their restaurant, they're going to automatically lose customers.
Give me an example of at least two restaurants. You don't have to mention
Mm,
their names
okay.
that you was assigned to go to, and everything that you're sharing with us was actually part of that solution
Mm.
that you had
So
that you was told to do there for anyway.
There is it's in a college town. It's a bar and restaurant, and they think they're crushing it. They have business, they're doing really well, but they just wanted to get a second set of eyes on the restaurant just to see how it's doing. And I was absolutely appalled. And I think the only reason that they're still getting by is because they're in a college town, and college students don't. I mean, I've been in dorms, I know what they look like. I don't really think that they care about the cleanliness of a restaurant, but the actual hometown does not go there. So in the summer, their business just dies. And that's because they have a reputation for not being the cleanest and for being a college hangout. Whereas if this restaurant would focus more on their local town, cater more to them, they would have the business year round, instead of just seasonally with the college students. I have seen some horrible things. The biggest thing that I see in the kitchens is rat droppings. You don't necessarily always see the rodent, but you see what they leave behind. So anything like that, that's one of the first things that I look for is, are there droppings anywhere?
Where do you see the droppings at? Like, where? How do you know where to look?
Dry storage is the main place. If anyone's keeping any food on the floor, like bags of potatoes, or a lot of diners, they'll make soup in these gallon containers and just leave them on the floor. Uh, oh my gosh, you would be sick if you saw some of the kitchens that I've been in. But yeah, usually in the dry storage area is where I see most of the rodents.
Have there been moments where after you've gone into these places, that they had to be shut down until further notice?
Um, I don't report anything. I'll give my report to the owner and hope that they fix it. There was one restaurant that did actually randomly, the health board went in 2 weeks after I went in, and they didn't do anything to fix it. It was a young owner. I think his dad had the business and handed it over, and he just thought he could, I don't know, do whatever he wanted to, and he didn't listen to any of my suggestions. And randomly, the health board did go in and shut them down. So they're currently working on the issues now. But if they would have just listened to me, I think they would have stayed open.
Now, are you under any obligations to report misconduct or
Mm,
misoperations to the Board of Health? I mean, this is what you do for a living. I mean, if I'm going in and I'm seeing rodents and coming out of chicken and shit,
hmm
do I have an obligation to go and report them to the Board of Health?
Honestly, I've never thought about that before. I do work for a national food distributor, so my goal is just to help our customers. I am looking at doing more freelance work though, but I don't think I would ever report them unless. Yeah, that's a tough one. You got me thinking on that right now. But I have not reported anyone that I've worked with yet.
Have there been times where you thought you should have?
Yes,
You've been doing this for a
yes,
while.
a
Give me an
long
example. Give me an
time.
example of a time you want that you now that you look back, you go, what? I should have said something to these. Give me two, not who they are, but two incidents.
Yeah. Okay, so there was a diner, a large diner that I grew up eating at, and then when I was in this role, I got to go in and work with them, and that's where I'm saying the example of like the soup buckets on the floor, and like they would just dip their hands in food. There's no gloves. The ceilings were starting to rot. You could see like sewage. I mean, it was foul. Like the kitchen smelled like sewage. It was so horrible.
Yeah,
um
yeah.
they're still in business, they're still operating, so I'm not, I don't work with them anymore. I'm not sure what happened there. And then the other ones, the one that I mentioned where they had to close down, they also had sewage. They had a lot of sewage issues, leaks, just that foul odor that they weren't taking care of.
But yeah, isn't that the landlord's responsibility too? Because I ate at this place called Yummy Bowl. Never will forget it.
Hmm.
Never will forget it. My friend was like, "Let's go to Yummy Bowl." I said, "They don't even sound right," and they was like, "You need to try the yummy sauce." So I'm like, "Okay." So it's right up the street. I never will forget this day. It was raining super hard. I'm gonna give the place the benefit of the doubt. I knew something was wrong when I walked in. It wasn't clean, and I saw buckets on the
Mm.
floor, and water was like literally coming down, and it
Hmm.
was coming down in the area where they cook the food. It's almost like a Mongolian place where they're cooking all the stuff in the middle, right? And I'm
Yeah.
looking at the my first time going here. I'm going through the line. I'm trying to understand the operation procedures where you pick out your protein, your carbs, and they go cook it, almost like a Mongolian barbecue type thing. And I remember looking at her like, "You really want me to eat this shit?" They're dumping buckets of water. Water is coming from the ceiling onto almost on the grill, and
Hmm.
and I don't see nobody really washing their hands as they dumping buckets and coming back making food.
Yeah.
So did I eat the food?
Mm.
No. I
Good.
let them made it up, and I threw it away because it was just appalling to me. Have you been in a situation like that where you've seen this being done under conditions just like this? And if so, would you have contacted the Board of Health? Because I was tempted to contact the Board of Health. 'Cause but I didn't do it because I was like, why are these people even sitting in here getting the food?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't see what I kind of like what I'm seeing, because I would have left.
Hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen it to that level. I have seen it where, serve safe is a huge part uh, running a restaurant. You have to be serve safe certified. And so there's different levels where you should have your food stored. You don't want your produce underneath your chicken in case your chicken leaks, it'll go on the produce and things like that. And I do see that a lot where food isn't stored properly, where a box of chicken might be on the floor in the kitchen wide open, and that's at room temperature just festering, and insects can get on that and it will grow bacteria. And I think the mindset of a lot of chefs is, well, I'll just throw it on the grill, it'll kill everything. And that is absolutely not okay. So in those instances when I do see that, I use it as a coaching moment. I explain why it's wrong. I explain the potential outcome that could come from it. And I just try to help them better understand because I think sometimes it's laziness and I think it might be a lack of knowledge sometimes. So I just try to educate as much as possible.
When you say lack of knowledge, are you suggesting that servers, hostess,
Mhm.
greeters, chefs, managers, owners need to be certified or take extended amount of educational knowledge before they decide to get involved in running a restaurant, bar, or anything that deals with food service entertainment to people?
Absolutely. In my opinion, I think every single person who works in a restaurant should have some sort of food handling certification, or food preparation certification. And like you said, from the hostess all the way up to the owner, everyone should have that. Unfortunately, there is an expense that comes with it. And with the high turnover rate, a lot of owners aren't willing to invest that money into their team. So the restaurant industry is very funny. It's the only industry that you can just walk into and start working on day one. There's very little training. You just kind of wing it, unfortunately. And those are the restaurants that aren't doing well. The restaurants who have that training and that certification and take pride in everything that they do and care about the ultimate outcome and their customer satisfaction, those are the restaurants that we see thriving.
When people see, before we wrap up, when people see you walking
Mhm.
in the door, do they have any idea who you are or why you're even there?
No, not usually. A lot of people in the restaurant industry are males. So when I come in as a woman, that's actually the big differentiator is first of all, a lot of them are nicer to me. These poor men that I work with that go into restaurants, they get beat up, but I go in and everyone's really nice. So that's a good thing. But yeah, they're usually not suspecting that I would be a restaurant consultant or know anything about the restaurant industry, which is pretty funny.
When you come in as a consultant, like who hires you to go into these restaurants? Is this an independent investigation, sort of speak? How do they pick you to go into certain restaurants? How does all this come about?
So right now, and I can't disclose who it is, but I do work for a national food service distributor. So our customers will talk to their salesperson, and based on that conversation, either the salesperson will tap me in, say that they need help, or the restaurant owner will reach out and just say, "Hey, we have a few issues. Can you help me out with it?" But I am working on a separate business right now. I have a TikTok page called Restaurant Girl Sultant, and I'm going to be doing my own consultations in the next couple of months where I work virtually with restaurant owners. There's going to be several different packages, but the ultimate goal is to help them really just increase their profitability and just make them more successful.
Before we wrap up, what are the three things that you are getting the highest response to or questions about?
Digital presence, how do I increase my foot traffic? Menu profitability, how can I figure out how much I should actually be charging? And then menu engineering, how do we take that information from our product mix that we're selling with our menu profitability and really harness that into a menu that's going to make us the most money?
Explain real quickly, what is the digital blueprint mean and how important is that? Because most restaurant owners or business owners, not even in the restaurant industry, they don't understand how important the social media blueprint is. And a lot of them really, to be honest, they don't want to learn it. They said it's too much for them. What's your take on that?
Yeah, if you're not investing in your social media and your digital footprint, you are not going to make it in today's world. You need to have a branded mobile app. You need to have online ordering. You need to be on at least Facebook and Instagram, especially if your demographic is the age of 30 and over. You need to have a clean website that's optimized for both desktop and for mobile. You need to feature your pictures. You need to create the experience online before they even walk in the door. Because if you're not doing that, no one's going to come in to check you out.
Wow, such great information. Like I said on the Andre the Beast Crayton show, we are here to educate, empower, and move. And you definitely have shared a lot of information today. Especially let me allow
Thank
me to
you.
get that chicken in the rat basket out of the way because that still bugs me today when I go past one of those places. And you know what? The tripped out part, their original location, the food is actually good. But just go to show you. Let me
Hmm.
ask you this question: have you been in a situation where one bad apple had a ripple effect on all the other chains of restaurants that you've dealt with?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's another rule of thumb here. If you provide on a scale of 1 to 10, if you provide a 9 or a 10 experience, that customer might tell three, four, or five people. But if you're providing a 1 to a 4 experience where it's absolutely terrible, you're going to lose literally thousands of customers because they are not only going to tell the people in their circle, they're probably going to blast it on social media too. So every time you're giving a negative experience, you're losing hundreds of customers without even knowing it.
Let's talk about one more thing real quick. Let's talk about hotels and restaurants and hotels.
Hmm.
Naturally, we have a beautiful restaurant here at the Keystone Cafe at the Sheraton Hotel, Keystone at the Crossing. Their food is immaculate. But I also see sometimes a handicap where outside people would bring pizza and so forth in and I remember asking them, why don't you guys have pizza? Like, why would you allow your competition to this is just me as a business person going, why would you even want them to bring in food when you can have the same stuff here? I'm pretty sure you dealt with this kind of stuff. What's the difference between hotel policy and restaurants? Let's call it almost like a five-star dining experience versus changed? What's the difference with those tools? How do you bring your experience into that particular arena?
Yeah, so that can be difficult because in some cases, the restaurants that are inside of hotels, they're actually more on a national level where they have someone on a corporate board delegating what they can and can't serve. So all of the restaurants in all of those hotels across the country are given a specific menu that they can use. So that's the one thing that's a struggle sometimes, and that's why a lot of the local residents won't visit restaurants like that because it's more geared to the tourists and just simple things that they can whip together. There's sometimes where an independent restaurant owner can go into a hotel and open up their own restaurant. And in those cases, they do have a lot more flexibility, but they might not have the equipment to make certain items like that. Pizza utilizes certain ovens. So sometimes if they want to put out a certain product and they don't have the right equipment for it, they're unable to offer that.
Mm, mm-mm. Great information. How can the viewers reach out to you, support you, and know more about your new and upcoming business to help restaurants? How can they learn all this information?
So I do have a TikTok page. Is Restaurant Girl Sultant, and that's focused on tips and tricks of the restaurant, everything I talked about today, plus more. And I'm currently working on a website, hoping to get the exact same domain, restaurantgirlsultant.com, and that's where I'll offer different packages where I'm willing to work with anyone across the country and help them be more profitable and just overall happier in their restaurant management.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing such vital information. I think now I learned something. I'm going into the restrooms first. So when you see me coming
Yes,
to your restroom, I'm going to the bathroom first. That's going to be my first assessment.
I love
If the
it.
bathroom is clean, then I might sit down and enjoy the meal. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show.